Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Agenda, a semi-monthly podcast by the City of Reno that quickly updates you on actions taken at the recent council meeting and checks in with various departments to keep you up to date with happenings at City Hall. I'm AJ from the City of Reno's communications team, and with me, as always, is Reno City Manager Jackie Bryant. Hello, Reno City Manager Jackie Bryant.
Hello, AJ.
Have you been enjoying the monsoonal patterns in Reno?
I actually have. I love the rain.
It's nice, but it feels kind of humid. I'm a sweaty
It's
person.
a little humid, but it's nothing like the South, and so
That's
it's
true.
quite pleasant in a lot of ways.
It is. It's nice. It makes my hair feel like nice and soft.
Yes.
So today's topic is about fire safety, new codes, and how our fire department is working with partners across the region. But before we get into our main topic, let's review a couple of actions that were taken at the August 27th council meeting. And to do that is Reno City Manager Jackie Bryant.
Yes, well, council approved contracts for some key park projects funded by grants and congressional allocations, including improvements at Wilkinson Dog Park, rehabilitation of the Canyon Creek Path, and remodeling of the California building. Thank you very much to all three members of our federal delegation, Senators Rosen, Senator Cortez Masto, and Congressman Amedee for that. We very much appreciate it. Council also heard a presentation from the Nevada Housing Coalition related to updates on recent legislative outcomes and future planning efforts related to housing in the state of Nevada.
That was a really good presentation, too.
I thought it was fantastic.
Very informative.
Yes.
If you were listening and would like to watch that presentation, you can find it on our website at reno.gov/meetings. To click the agenda, it takes you to YouTube. It's great. So during this week's meeting, Council heard a presentation about the 2024 International Fire Code and International Wildland-Urban Interface Code. It's a lot of code. And while that's a mouthful to say, it really comes down to just keeping residents safe. So to help us better understand this in a way that makes sense to someone like me, we are joined by Reno Fire Chief David Cochran and Fire Inspector Sean O'Brien and the city's favorite four-legged investigator, Boston the Arson Dog. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, AJ. Thank you for having us.
I was hoping Boston would say something, but no, it's fine. Man, a few words.
He did. It was just too high to hear.
Okay, so let's get into this because it's a little, not complicated, but, explain it like I'm five. So let's start with the basics. Chief, Council recently discussed adopting the 2024 International Fire Code and the International Wildland-Urban Interface Code, or the WUI.
The WUI. Exactly.
The WUI. So can you explain what these codes are and why this matters and what the WUI is, besides a fun word to say?
Absolutely. So like you mentioned, these are two different codes, the International Fire Code and then the Wildland-Urban Interface Code, or the WUI code is what we call it. And what they do, they're really designed to protect life and property. That's our goal. That's the goal of prevention. The easiest fire to put out is one that doesn't start. And then you have the WUI code, and the WUI addresses that interface area. And just for people who may not be familiar with it, that's the area where the built environment, the neighborhoods, the homes, the buildings, intersect or approach the wildland. That's BLM land, Forest Service land, undeveloped land.
Where the city meets the wild.
Yeah.
Which there's generally a higher risk of wildfire, more intense wildfires in those areas. So our concern is that we make those areas, those interface areas, as safe as possible, and that's what the WUI is designed to accomplish.
Gotcha. So like a lot of the just open spaces, the fields, the stuff we see up on the hills, that's...
Exactly. When you're looking up at Slide Mountain or Mount Rose, you're looking up in the direction of the WUI.
Gotcha. So why are we just now getting updates, the 2024 code?
So we adopt a new code every 6 years, and the same thing the building department does, actually. And part of that is because the code is designed to address emerging risks or technology developments like lithium-ion batteries, things like that. And so that technology develops slowly, and so there's not a need necessarily to adopt a code every year. We do it on a 6-year rotation. It's a very involved process. It takes about 12 to 18 months to settle on the exact terms of the code, because what we do is collaborate with our neighboring jurisdictions. So as much as possible, we have the exact same code across jurisdictions, which is better for the builders, better for the residents, so they have a sense of consistency no matter where they're operating, building, or doing something that impacts the code.
And like you said, it's to kind of stay up to date with things as they change, because we live in an ever-evolving world. Lithium-ion batteries are new, and those are hard to put out.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And like I said, prevention is the best medicine. This gives us a chance to get ahead of that so that we create storage facilities, for example, that are that have initial suppression systems that put those fires out before they can become a major problem.
Inspector O'Brien, you were part of the team that worked with other Northern Nevada fire agencies to develop a regional approach to adopting these code updates. So what was that collaboration like, and how does that benefit the overall community?
So starting around 18 months ago, a year and a half ago, we would get together monthly with other agencies in our region. This includes Carson City, Sparks, Washoe County, North Lake Tahoe, and a few others. And we worked together trying to collaborate to get amendments to the codes to make sure that the code served our area as accurately as possible. But we want the code to actually work for the whole area so that it doesn't just specifically apply to only Reno or only Sparks, that we keep the residents, we maintain that level of safety in the whole region.
Something that works for California doesn't work for Nevada, and vice versa, because very different terrains and whatnot.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We're regionally here, right? We share everything. So if a fire breaks out in Reno and we require help, or if a fire breaks out in Washoe County and we send units there to help them, it's good to know that we're all on the same page as far as the level of safety for everybody in the region.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So the presentation mentioned new code sections about lithium-ion battery storage and electrical energy systems. Why are those updates important, and what should residents know?
Well, like the chief said, the point of us adopting new code every 6 years really is to try to do our best to keep up with the upcoming technologies and these potential problems and find solutions for those problems. And of course, electrification is a huge thing that's going on right now. Councilmember Ebert has mentioned this many times. So electrical storage systems are things that they can be something as large as a huge battery pack that can help power like an industrial area. It can also be something like you see the Tesla power walls that people are putting in their homes as backup power, or their vehicles. Also, lithium-ion battery storage and recycling facilities are addressed in the new code update. So as the chief mentioned, we make sure not only if we try to make sure that fire is extinguished before it becomes a major problem, but also that it can be contained. So even if a fire does break out, that it doesn't spread into other areas or other batteries.
Because I don't think people understand this, that like lithium-ion batteries, those fires, if it starts, they're extra like volatile.
Yes, the makeup of a lithium-ion battery with the chemicals and the materials, they make it can be very hard to put out, because adding water can actually make the situation worse.
Oh, God.
So that's why these codes are so important, to make sure that we understand. And it's not just, we're constantly updating the training with our firefighters so that they are safe and that they can contain these fires. But our goal with the code is to make it so that these fires aren't that big in the first place, because they do pose a big hazard.
So what changes did this code make compared to the prior one that actually impacts lithium batteries and how they're stored or cared for? What did y'all do?
It gets a lot more detail when it comes to location. Also, will give more detail on battery storage when it comes to suppression requirements, when it comes to quantities. Also, things like when the batteries are stored, the charge. So a lithium battery, if you have a large lithium battery and it has under a 30% charge, they've done this through tests, the fire danger is much, much less. If it has over a 30% charge, the fire danger is much higher. So it also has, hey, if you're going to be storing, if you have a warehouse full of batteries and you're going to be storing these batteries, we need to see your process to ensure that the whole stack of batteries that you're storing is under a 30% charge, so it doesn't pose that same danger.
And just to make sure people don't misconstrue this code, this doesn't apply to my iPhone that has a lithium battery in it, or my laptop, right?
No.
This applies to building things and how you actually store larger lithium batteries.
Yes. So the only time it applied to anything smaller, like you were mentioning, is if it came to like a retail storage site that has, thousands of iPhones in big crates. But it's not going to regulate your use of your iPhone or your laptop.
So let's talk a little bit about the Wildland-Urban interface code for the WUI. How does that fit into the big picture?
So, of course, Reno's had its share of fires, as a lot of the West Coast has. So we do have what we call the WUI, the Wildland-Urban Interface. And what adopting this code is, the state already had it adopted, but by Reno adopting this code with the amendments, it gives us a little bit more control to try to ensure a safety standard for our residents, especially in new developments. The code addresses things like how we build structures. So if a structure is built in the WUI, it will be more fire resistive. Also, what we call defensible space. Defensible space is a space between that undeveloped land and the structure. And that's something that we ask for what we call vegetation management plans to make sure that the area between the structure and what we call the wildland is set up in a way that'll slow fire progress that's coming towards the structures. This does two things. It helps keep it so that the fire stays away from the structure so they're less likely to catch on fire, but it also gives our firefighters room to respond safely so that they can safely get in between the buildings and the fire and make sure it stays out of, homes, backyards, businesses, things like that.
So what's an average space gap between the structures and vegetation, for example?
It depends on your hazard rating, but typically speaking, we start about 30 feet. That's our goal. We want at least 30 feet. If you get in the higher hazards around the Reno area, we might require 50 feet at times, but 30 feet is the standard.
So how does the Wildland-Urban interface code impact someone who lives in a homeowners association?
So if they were doing a newer development, we would require the new homeowner association to submit a vegetation management plan, which has to be approved by the fire department, and then we will go and check yearly to make sure that they're maintaining the land as they said that they would.
So you physically go out and eyeball it?
Correct. Yes, absolutely. For current HOAs, if they don't have a vegetation management plan, the fire department offers free training. We constantly are meeting with them and giving trainings for the HOAs. We have what we call Firewise communities that they can go through a course and become a Firewise community, which can potentially help with things like insurance.
Can lower your insurance rate?
Potentially. A lot of insurance companies are starting to look for that kind of stuff. And then, of course, we have what we call the CWPP grant that was approved by City Council. That is going to be coming out soon. So that's the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and it is a plan that will involve HOAs, it'll involve residents, it'll involve the fire department, other city services, where it'll be basically a big education and a guide for things like evacuation, preparing your home, defensible space, all of these kind of good things.
And if I were, say, the president of an HOA, who would I call to find out about how to have the fire department come out and work with me?
You can reach out to the city, call the fire department directly at 334-2300.
We've come a long way from stop, drop, and roll.
Yes, we have.
Yes.
So Chief Cochran, what is next for these code changes and how can residents get involved?
So at the council meeting August 27th, they gave us direction to go ahead and adopt a code.
Okay.
So the next step will be introduction of the ordinance, which will happen at the September 10 council meeting. It's a two-step process, so it'll come back for a second reading at the end of September. We've already been doing outreach to the community to educate them about the changes in the code. The code is also available through the city, so they can read the whole thing if they're so inclined. We also encourage them to provide input. They can contact the fire department. They can come to the council meeting and share their thoughts about the code. And then the other piece that we'll be doing after the code is adopted, which we expect to happen at the end of September, like I mentioned, is reaching out particularly to the building community to make sure they're aware of the changes. So when the code comes into effect, which will be January 1, 2026 is the target date, they'll be fully up to speed on what's going on and what the expectations are.
Awesome. So you guys are making sure everyone knows what is happening.
Absolutely.
Love that. That about wraps up our conversation on the International Fire Code. It sounds like fire safety is always evolving, and it's great to see that the Reno Fire Department is leading the way with so many different things, from the code to Boston. Like, I see so many people now with different animals. I'm like, we did that. We got a dog first. So thank you, gentlemen.
We were first.
We were first.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today on the podcast. If you'd like to learn more, you can always visit reno.gov or, like Chief and Inspector O'Brien said, contact the Reno Fire Department. Once again, what was the phone number? Not 911.
334-2300.
334-2300 if you have more questions. Before we sign off, Jackie is going to tell us a little bit about the next agenda for the council meeting on September 10th.
Do you realize we never stop talking about council agendas? We either talk about what we've done or what's coming.
All the time.
Every 14 days.
Every 14
there's
days.
a new one, and it just keeps going.
We're
But-
on the agenda.
So, on the agenda for the next one, we have several presentations that I think are going to be very interesting. The first is going to be an update from our very own Taylor Adams of the Economic Development Authority of Western Nevada on the economy in Washoe County. We'll have a property tax overview to help residents and council better understand Nevada's tax structure as it relates to property tax, and as well as how that property tax revenue that Reno receives is flat or declining. We're going to have an update to the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan, including some progress on community priorities that we've heard about, and a public hearing on our favorite topic, accessory dwelling units. That's our ADUs with proposed standards for design, lot size, parking, and short-term rental use. There it is, the STR word.
I saw a comment on Facebook that said, I'm going to have a 12-story ADU in my backyard. And I was like,
Not
oh, no,
true.
you're not.
Cannot happen. Still has to comply.
Power lines above you, you can't do that.
Nope, can't happen. Have a lot of criteria that you have to go through. So anyway, those things will be discussed next week.
If you would like to learn more, you can always read highlights at reno.gov/news. And we have a new newsletter you should sign up for. It's called the Reno Report. You can get that at reno.gov. Just search newsletters, and it's there.
And it comes out every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks before council.
That is a compilation of all the things we're doing. So not only can you sign up for the development only newsletter or the parks only newsletter, you can sign up for this newsletter and learn about things you have no interest in.
Exactly. As always, check out reno.gov/meetings for more on the agenda.